Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm tired.
Tired? I know. Daylight savings, man.
How did Stevie do with the time adjustment?
She did just fine. She was a little groggy yesterday morning. But...
My children, it was rough. It was
Is
a
it?
rough morning getting out to school. We usually are, so I have alarms set on Allie's phone for like little reminders. Like, okay, 7:30, getting dressed, 7:50, 10-minute warning, 8 o'clock, pack it up. At 7:50, I go in. She's still in bed.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, hey, ma'am, we've already eaten breakfast. She'd come out. We'd eaten breakfast.
Yeah.
She went back. I thought they were getting dressed, and she's like under the covers.
Yeah.
I'm like,
did she make it? She got ready in 10 minutes?
She was running a little behind.
Okay.
So the girls, Allie starts at 8:20, Piper starts at 8:30.
Okay.
We got
Same
Piper
school,
to
right?
school on time. Yes. But middle school and elementary, so they have different start
That's
times.
weird.
So we were running a little bit late. Yeah. But here we are.
I know. I'm tired today for sure.
Just like.
I was telling you before we started recording. I'm feeling a little off today. A little funky.
We all have those.
There's a bunch of random things going on. And I'm going to put on a happy face. But
there we go.
Be authentic with
Let's
with
be
the
real
people
with our listeners.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
I'm like, honestly, who am I? Where am I?
Might not be the best episode.
People turn it off now.
It's going to be great. But it's our 23rd episode.
23.
It's our Jordan year.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan's number.
That's right. I'm like,
It's also the 23rd Psalm. What is that one? Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Is that one? I fear no evil.
Let's check.
I think that's the
right
23rd
Psalm. That is very. You knew that right off the top. Have you planned this? It's a popular one. People love it. Okay, what did we say? Psalms 23.
Yeah.
The Lord is my shepherd.
Oh, okay. I don't think that's what I said.
I think that you were right, though.
The Lord is my shepherd. But you shall not want.
It comes down later about.
Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Yeah.
Is that there?
It's there.
Okay, cool.
You nailed it.
Love it.
Listen.
What else? 23 and me.
Have you ever done that?
I've not. Have you?
I'm really curious.
I'm curious too.
Because
you were half Japanese.
Half Japanese, but also so on my mom's side, I knew my grandmother. I didn't know my grandpa, and I just am curious, like what things we don't know about our family, and because there's not a lot of direct connection as far as relationship or anything, I'm like,
I think I'm probably just a classic white melting pot.
You look like you could be.
Apparently, I have a little bit. My grandpa on my mom's side says that I have some Native American in me. I'm like 1/16 Chippewa, apparently. So that's exciting.
Okay.
But my dad's dad, we don't know. He's not. He was never in the picture.
Your dad's dad.
My dad's
your
biological. My grandpa. My biological grandpa. My dad's dad is not in the picture at all.
Okay.
So my grandpa that I call grandpa was my dad's adopted dad.
Oh, okay.
So my dad has never met his birth
Oh my
dad.
goodness, I didn't know this.
Yeah, so there's all these like health things that we don't know, and so I'm curious just from a health perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'd find that out from 23andMe, but like just what the genetics are.
Right.
Like, I want to know if
Yeah.
I have anything to worry about coming up.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh my gosh, 23andMe, is that even a thing?
I think it's still a thing.
Health. No, the health things.
Yeah.
Isn't it like you've got a third cousin out in Tennessee?
Me?
No, isn't it that's what it does? It tells you like where you've got relatives?
Yes. Yeah.
Or something? I don't know.
Yes, it tells you your ancestry. So like where I think I don't know how it works at all, but it must go through like databases of
We should do it, and then we should read the results on this.
That's a great idea.
Take the test.
That's our homework.
Take the test, and then we'll reveal.
I'm sure you have to pay for it. I wonder how expensive
I think it's
it is.
expensive.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
We can take all of our proceeds from the podcast and then
listen, we're actually collecting sponsorship for 23andMe.
23andMe. Okay. So how are things? How's life?
Things are good. This weekend was a little odd, to be honest with you. Chad was really sick.
Oh, really?
Like,
I thought Chad didn't get sick.
Thank you. I was a little bit like, he, bless his heart. So last week we had a pretty busy week, and we had been invited to a concert Thursday night.
Okay.
And it was with his fire department friends. We don't always do a ton with those guys. So he was like, I feel like I need to go to this. I'm like, okay, it's a band we've never heard of. I'm going to name 3 people, and I want you to tell me if you've heard of any of them.
Okay.
Cody Jinks.
Nope.
Turnpike Turbador.
Nope.
Trampled Turtles.
Nope.
I made all those up. No, just kidding. Those are all legit names.
If I said yes, you're going to be like, Got you.
Let's
real quick. I was in an interview one time for an internship, and it was like a group interview. This is actually how I met Brian. Was in this interview.
I love this story.
That's not the point of the story,
no,
but so there was the interviewer who was the owner of the company. He was telling us this story, and it was like about this guy who like was this axe like tree. There was like this competition.
A
lumberjack. There was a competition to cut down trees with an axe, and this guy was like the world champion. Blah 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 blah. He told us the story, and at the end he's like, has anybody heard that story before? And I don't think anybody raised their hand. He's like, good, because I made it up. And he was testing us. He wanted to see if anybody would like lie and say that they had heard the story before. And it was this whole made up story. It was the weirdest thing.
That is very bizarre.
Very bizarre. Yeah, Brian and I still talk about it all the time. We're like, what the heck?
What kind of tactic is that?
He was just trying to catch a liar, I guess, but very odd.
And what would you gain from being like, yeah, I've heard that?
I don't know. Well, some people will just kind of like go along with something and say, oh yeah, I know that thing or whatever, but I don't know.
I can't lie.
So that's how Brian and I met.
Weird.
Was that weird interview?
Funny. What was the job?
It was for like a real estate internship.
Oh.
It was we both quit. We both got the intern. It was an unpaid real estate internship that's the things they were having is because usually with internships they're either paid or unpaid. Obviously, if they're paid, at least you're getting paid.
Right.
If they're unpaid, you're hoping to get value out of that internship.
100%.
The things they were having us do were insane. Like they asked Brian to like stop and get milk for them. They asked me.
He's a personal assistant.
They asked me to write a letter of recommendation for another intern that I had never met.
What?
They're like, hey, this person has finished their internship. Can you write them a letter of recommendation? And that was their big thing. Like, when you finish this internship, we'll write you a great letter of recommendation.
It won't be us. It's going to be a new intern, but you're going to get a letter regardless.
So, yeah, the whole thing was very, very odd. We both only were there for like weeks.
That is so funny.
I broke my foot. This is going, sorry. This is more of an
I've never heard this.
This
is amazing.
I broke my foot like 2 weeks into the internship.
Yeah.
And that is kind of, so I hit up Brian because he was also an intern there.
Yeah.
And I asked him, hey, could you drive me? Because I was taking the bus. I was like taking the bus from UW to Bellevue, and then I was walking from the bus stop to the internship, and it was a long walk. So I was like, I can't do that with a broken foot.
Yeah.
And so I asked Brian, and he drove me, and that was like pretty much our first time hanging out just one-on-one.
Yeah.
Was because he drove me to this internship.
Little does he know you broke your foot on purpose for this ride.
I should have. You never know.
Desperate to get with him.
But
oh, that's adorable.
I interrupted you because you're talking about your concert.
We get invited to this concert. We don't know the bands, and I'm a little bit like, first of all, I look up Cody Jinks, and some of the description was outlaw country something. I was like, oh, good Lord. Because I'm not a big country fan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm like, it gets real twangy. It gets a little whatever. So I was really hesitant. I'm like, I really don't. But at the same time, Chad's like, I never hang out with these people. We've been invited. Like, it's free. Let's go. So I'm like, okay. So I rally. I'm like, let's do this. He comes home before we go to the concert, and he's like, hey, how are you feeling? I'm like, great. I'm ready to go. I've got my cowgirl boots on. I'm ready. And he's like, yeah, I'm not feeling so hot. I was like, oh, well, do you want to not go? He's like, I can't not go. I will get so much flack if I don't go. So we start off like hanging out at a friend's house, and then we all kind of caravan to Tacoma Dome. I've never gone to a concert at Tacoma Dome.
Really?
I was like, this was amazing. Yeah. We walk in and we were so pleasantly surprised. It was like, it's going to sound funny, but it was like the lighting was really dim.
Yeah.
And the music was like just chill. So it started with Trampled Turtles.
Okay.
And you commented on the post I did. They were all strings. What is that called? Is that a name?
There's a name for it.
Yeah. Anyways, they were like 5 or 6 musicians, and they're all playing different stringed instruments. And it was so good.
Yeah.
They didn't introduce themselves, so I didn't know who they were. Somebody else luckily commented on one of my Instagram stories and was like, oh my gosh, Trampled Turtles, I love them. And I was like, thank you, because they weren't on any of the ticket information. Yeah. Nobody that we went with knew who they were. Wow. So it ended up being great. As we're sitting there.
Folk music?
It was like, yep, it's folky. They said like bluegrass, but like maybe more modern.
Like a modern folk bluegrass with a twist?
With a twist of just strings.
Yeah.
No. So then the other guy came on, and they were very country.
Okay.
And I was like, it wasn't awful. I'm not going to say I hated it.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, it's getting a little twangy for me.
Yeah.
And Chad was like, the more we sat there, the more he kind of was like keeling over.
Oh, no.
And so I was like, we should probably head out soon. So we go home. We get home. He's got a fever of over 101.
Oh, my goodness.
Like 101.5, which I feel like as an adult, when you have, I don't know. Anyways, bless his heart. He was sick, down for the count. The rest of the weekend, he was in bed. He thought maybe pneumonia. He was like, chest pains, big, like awful cough. So all that to say, not great. On the vent, went to the doctor. He was like, I'm getting chest x-rays. I think it's pneumonia. You know, he thought it was going to be this like heavy diagnosis. And then he comes out and he's like, turns out it's just the flu, which is not that's still a serious thing. But I just thought it was hilarious. He was like thinking he was, I think it's lung cancer. Yeah. And then he's like, turns out it's a cough.
Yeah.
Bless his heart. So anyways, Thursday we went to this concert.
Fun fact, I also saw live country music this weekend.
You are a country fan.
I am, but similar. I'm like to an extent.
Yeah.
Like I really like modern country music. The older stuff, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it for a couple songs, but after a while, I can get a little bit burnt out on it. But I went to it was Cecily, my friend Chad, Cecily's girlfriend this weekend. Went to a Mexican restaurant and then went to a bar called the Little Red Hen, which is a country bar with live music.
Adorable.
The band was the Grit City something. So I think they're from Tacoma, which is kind of cool.
Sounds like it.
And so it was a bunch of people were like line dancing and stuff. And I like country for a couple songs.
I don't hate line dancing actually. That we used to do that in high school.
I really enjoy country music like during the summer. I feel like that's the time for
That's a classic.
But I also will sometimes randomly play it. Like there's artists I really like. I really like Thomas Rhett. I like Luke Bryan. There's a number of artists. Oh, who's the other guy? Tom Hardy. Do you know Tom Hardy?
I could have sworn that was an actor.
Tom Hardy? I think that's Tom Hardy. John Party is what I meant. Sorry. Okay. John Party. John Party? That doesn't sound right.
John Party of 3?
John Party of 3? No. Yeah, anyway. Interruption, Carrie.
So,
I'm gonna keep interrupting you all day.
So then Friday, we were supposed to go on a double date. Chad and I were gonna go out with our friends Carrie and Blue. We had to pull an Audible.
Okay, you know what's so funny? One more interruption. I've heard so many people say Audible in the last week.
Stop.
Since it came up last week, I've heard at least 5 or 6 different people use that word.
In the context you're
in the context I use it, yes. And mostly people my age. So maybe it's a UW thing. Maybe it's like I don't know.
I had never heard it. I will say when you were talking about like you say it, I was like, I have heard you specifically say it before.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, what was that? Like when he said it, I remember it like I had a pause in my thought of like, what was that word?
So you pulled an Audible.
Is that how you use it?
I just say Audible.
You Audible.
Audible or
I don't pull it.
No.
I don't.
I think that's the same thing, but
I don't take an Audible.
Use Audible.
I just Audible.
Yeah.
So we Audibled.
You Audibled.
And I called for girls' night. Okay. And so I went to dinner at Blind Pig. Have you ever been to that little bar on Proctor?
I think I have.
Okay. It's a small little spot. Started dinner there with my friend Carrie. And then we met up with a couple other ladies at Brown on Proctor and just did a little wine tasting.
Nice.
So that was great. It was really fun. Friday, Saturday, again, I just was like, I'm taking advantage of Chad being sick and I'm just going to do all the girl stuff. So I had a couple girlfriends over Saturday morning. We went for a little walk and then they came and sat in the sauna with me. That nice. Was really nice. My friend Shannon did a cold plunge afterwards.
Go Shannon.
Go Shannon. It was like I was watching the clock on her behalf and it was the slowest 5 minutes of my entire life.
So does she do a lot of cold plunging?
I don't know. She does a lot, but she's been doing it.
Because what I've heard is people start with like 1 minute and 2 minutes. They like work up to 3 minutes. Like 5 minutes is a long. Does Chad do 5 minutes?
I actually don't know.
I feel like I've heard him say 3 minutes. So 5 minutes is a long time.
Yeah. Well, he has a thing about an average time over the entire week. Like not. I think if you get at least 11 minutes over the week, then that's supposed to be.
Yeah, scientifically.
Yeah, she's amazing. So she did that. Saturday, I had another showing.
Okay.
So I went and showed a house. Piper had a birthday party, so it's kind of like show a house, birthday party. Yep. Allie was at a friend's house, pick her up, just kind of shuffling around.
Where was the house you showed?
It was in North Tacoma. It was off near Silas High School.
Okay.
another open house that we met at where it was packed.
Yeah.
And multiple offers. Like, I'm just like, it's heating up
heating
out
up.
there. It's getting crazy. That night, everybody was just kind of chill that night. The girls actually went for a night swim, which was kind of fun.
Nice.
And then Sunday, Chad was still not great, had gotten some meds, so we were like on the mend.
Yep.
We ended up getting enough energy out of him to go to lunch with our friends Diane, who works here, and
Cool.
Brian. We went down to Boathouse 19, right
Nice.
down the street from our house. That was great. I love catching up with them. They've got kids in like, high school and college, so just the seasons above. So just kind of hearing all their stuff. And then the client who I showed the house to wanted to write up an offer, and we had never done that before. We'd only seen 2 houses together.
Wow.
So I was like, I'd love to sit down and like go over what your options are, because it's a competitive house. You've never written an offer. Like, let's sit down. So came actually here on Sunday afternoon and met with him and wrote an offer. Unfortunately, it wasn't accepted, but it was still really good to just like sit down and talk through, because I feel like when you're under a time crunch and you're unfamiliar with the process, it's even more like just intense and dramatic.
Totally. Yeah.
So, and then that evening, went home. I did the sauna last night. Kind of Piper joined me for a little bit, but then kind of by myself. And then,
how long are you sitting in the sauna for?
So last night I was able to do 25 minutes.
It's a long time.
It's a long time for over 180 degrees.
Yeah.
It's intense.
Crazy.
The first time I went in, so we're still trying to figure out, like, it's a little bit tricky to explain, but like the way the heating system works, it's not like, oh, I'm going to heat it to 180 and I'm going to heat it for an hour. It's a little bit like, I'm going to turn it on. I'm not sure how hot it's going to get.
Oh, wow.
And we have this timer thing that Chad's
and then you have a thermometer inside there.
We do have a thermometer.
Okay.
So often what happens is Chad turns it up full blast so that it heats up quickly, is his thought. I get in, it's like over 200 degrees.
Wow.
And I'm like, I can't breathe in here. So I was keeping an eye on it, because when I first got in, it was around 200, and then we turned the heat down, but it never got below 180.
Okay.
So
how long does it take to heat up?
Not crazy long. So that was the other thing. We were like, okay, you can set it where it's like you turn it on the timer, and it can do something where it's like it'll start in 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. I guess the idea is like if you wanted to go to bed and turn it on so that it'd heat in the morning, you could set it for like 8 hours.
Okay.
It's a weird thing. But
like schedule your coffee in the morning, schedule your sauna.
I guess that's the thing. I'm like, I just want it to turn on and I want it to be warm.
Yeah.
And know how long it's going to take. So we kind of timed it yesterday, and it took about 45 minutes or so to get to 180.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't crazy long, but
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my weekend. A little bit of girl time and sauna time and
a lot of good friend time, it sounds like.
I do enjoy my friend time.
How do you schedule things? Is it mostly you reaching out to schedule something? Is it other people? Is like, how does that? How does your how do you choose who to reach out to? Because that was you. It sounded like you hung out with like 3 or 4 different friend groups over the weekend.
So my friend Carrie was with me Friday for the dinner portion, and then she came to sauna Saturday morning. Okay. I do like to mix it up. Yeah. But I do have a few core people that were pretty consistent. And I feel like it's a little bit of a mix. I am a pretty big instigator as far as planning our social life in our household. Like that was one of the things with the concert. Like it was very rare that Chad had social plans. Yeah. So I was like, okay, we have to go. So how do we plan it? I have to be very aware because so leading up to the weekend, we also had Tuesday night, we went and did trivia, which is our like kind of consistent thing. And that's with Shannon and Peter, and then our friends Kelly and Chris. So we see them like weekly. Cool. After trivia this week, we had a birthday party. Okay. So then we went to another social event. Yeah. And then the girls, we're doing stuff with them throughout the week. And then Thursday we had this concert. Friday we're supposed to do a date night. Yeah. Sunday lunch. I was trying to be mindful of like Chad's social things as well. Yeah, totally. So planning just me and girl time really kind of helps not feel like I'm putting too much on his plate. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we love having people over. Yeah. So hosting, inviting people over. I do feel like as I've gotten older and our friends and kids mesh, we've had to be mindful of like who fits with who type of thing, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, not overwhelming our house with tons of chaos. Yeah. So
I feel like planning, it's definitely something for us, because I think for you two, Chad's more the introvert, you're more the extrovert.
Yeah.
For us, Brian's definitely introverted. I'm like not. I wouldn't call myself extroverted. I'm like kind of right in the middle.
Okay.
So for both of us, we are both okay having a weekend where we see nobody.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I've never heard that from
It doesn't
you.
happen very often.
It doesn't sound like it.
But we definitely have to be intentional to plan stuff.
Yeah.
Or just like we'd both be okay not doing anything.
So this is interesting because I was actually listening to our last episode and you were talking about how you had gone to dinner with Chad and Cecily, and then you went to do games with different friends.
Yeah.
How is that? Like, are you like, hey, okay, we got to go. Like, do you say like, do you guys want to come with? Is it like totally different groups? Like you meshed 2 groups in one night.
Yeah, for that night in particular, we had planned the dinner with Chad and Cecily earlier.
Okay.
And then we already had like a time figured out and everything. And then the game night was kind of like a last minute thing that came up. So we didn't necessarily like plan the 2 things back to back, kind of worked out that way. But
got it.
Yeah, we definitely have quite a few different friend groups that we're kind of like consistently trying to hang out with.
Yeah.
And it's pretty rare that like all of our friend groups come together.
Yeah.
When we did our Christmas party this last year, that was kind of a good.
Yeah.
That was pretty much inviting like a lot of our different circles.
A lot of people.
Which was awesome. Like it's fun to get everybody together.
100%.
But we definitely, it's like we'll see different groups throughout any different weekend or period of time or whatever. So,
I mean, if you're trying to get one-on-one time with all of your people and they were all at that Christmas party, that's your year.
That's
every weekend you've got another pair that you're hanging out with.
Yeah. But yeah, so this weekend so Friday night we did one group, so we hung out with.
Okay.
We did went over to Brian's friend. It's so funny. It's like we talked about this weekend is for the first 6-7 years of our relationship. It was always like Brian's friends and then my friends.
Okay.
And then we have some friends that are like we've made together.
Yeah.
But I'm like, at what point do we stop saying that?
Yeah.
Because now they're all our friends.
Right.
Like, it's pretty. I mean, it's not. It happens, but it's rare that it's like just one of us hanging out with one group.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's us both hanging out with these different friend groups.
Sure.
So I'm like, we should stop calling them my friends and your friends. Like they're all our friends. But anyway, so we did like a game night. Do you find yourself doing that at all? Like
I mean, a little bit, only because like it's all the women, right? Like I'm friends with the wives.
Yeah.
And there are a few of the husbands that like Chad does hang out with outside of group settings.
Right.
But a lot of it is like kind of by default because I'm friends with this wife, Chad hangs out with this husband.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, and I think it goes back to like the origin, right? Like, did you meet this person because Brian knew them from this?
And that is where our delineation is.
Yeah.
Like, whose friend were they originally?
Right.
And then it becomes it's Brian's friend or my friend, but it's like they're all our friends. Like,
yes.
Anyway, so hung out with some friends Friday night, went to their apartment, and then one of them made like this pasta dinner, which was great, and then played a couple games, played some categories. Played categories.
I love categories.
It's one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
Brian, we always fight in categories.
I think we played with you guys.
Brian is really good at categories.
Very good.
Always wins, but
gets those double points.
He gets but he's also like in he's gonna be mad at me for saying this on the podcast. He stretches it a little bit. He's a little bit like, what's the word? Liberal with his usage of words.
You could say liberal. I could say creative.
He's very creative.
Pushes the boundaries.
Yes. But the thing in my brain, it's like he's already winning. So for him to like get another point that's like a little bit questionable just doesn't seem fair.
That's hilarious.
So we always are disagreeing over.
Yeah. Causes a little domestic.
A little bit. Yeah.
Love it.
But played some categories. That was pretty much Friday night.
Yeah.
Saturday I was waking up early. I went to a berries class. Have you heard of berries boot camp?
No.
It's a workout class.
Okay.
I've wanted to go forever, and it's pretty expensive. These classes are
like. Wait, is this like a national thing? What do you mean? Is this
berries is a national? Like Orange Theory or F45 or these gyms where there's like classes. Basically. Okay. Berries is another one of those.
Oh, okay.
But there's like one in Seattle, and I've never lived close to it, so it's never really made sense for me to go.
Yeah.
My friend's a member, and he had like a free pass.
Oh, nice.
So he invited me to go. And he invited us to go, and Brian doesn't really like classes. I do. So I went, and the only time available was like a 7:15 class on a Saturday. All the other classes were already booked. So
popular.
Woke up at 6 on Saturday. Went to this class. It was great. Very fun.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, boot camp. So like, what are you doing?
It's like half treadmill and then half like on the floor, like doing weights. So have you done an Orange Theory class before?
No, never.
very similar to that, but a lot of treadmill. They're saying like go at they call it like a base speed, so like a comfortable jogging speed, and then you'll go to like a push speed, which is a push, and then you go to a sprint. Oof. So there's different time. They say do this for a minute and then do this for 30 seconds or whatever, and then you move to the floor, and that's where you're doing like weights and other workouts and stuff. So yeah, it was great.
You liked it?
I liked it a lot. Yeah. Did that and then had an inspection for a house in Beacon Hill.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah.
How'd the inspection go?
Inspection went great. It's a newer townhome. It was built like 2019, I think, so 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So a few like deferred maintenance type things, but everything was, nothing big at all.
Great.
So
also, when you say 2019 and you're like 5 years ago,
I know. That feels crazy. It feels like it should be 2 or 3 years ago.
I'm sorry. Wasn't that yesterday?
Yeah.
Somebody else said something like, oh, yeah, back in 2021. So a couple years. I was like, it's 2022, right? I was like, no, it's not even.
That has been happening a lot to me lately.
Okay. Sorry.
So inspection, and then went home, walked Stevie, and then had Cecily's birthday party that night. So went to Mexican place, then went to Little Red Hen for some drinks and dancing and stuff.
Did you do a little line dancing?
I did not. No. We have the classic excuse. Oh, we have to go home to Stevie.
Stevie, she needs us.
She needs us.
Yeah.
And we were both tired. And we, daylight savings the next day. So
we're
becoming I'm turning 30 this year, as you know, and Chad is also turning 30.
Okay.
And so we're trying to plan like a 30th birthday party.
Fun.
And we're like, we should go to Vegas. Like, we've never done Vegas as a friend group.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I don't even really enjoy like going to clubs anymore.
I mean,
I think it'd be really fun for like one night, but like to do that multiple nights in a row. Like when we were just in Whistler, like that's all we did was so much clubbing and like going out. And like, I don't know if that's my ideal trip anymore. Okay. So I'm like, do we do that, or do we like go to, you can get a direct flight to Costa Rica? So do we do like a little fun Costa Rica trip?
And
so I'm leaning that direction.
Loving the plans. Is Chad, is he like he doesn't strike me as like a club.
No.
Yeah.
We're getting old.
I feel like maybe that's a good pairing then to celebrate with.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, we went home, and then Sunday we did a whole lot of nothing yesterday. We watched the Oscars, which was great. Did you watch the Oscars at all?
I did not.
Okay.
But
have you seen any of the movies?
Stuff?
You've seen Barbie.
I've seen Barbie.
Other ones were, honestly, I think that was the only movie I had seen. But
I haven't seen Oppenheimer. Chad was watching it while he was sick.
That was Oppenheimer won a lot of awards.
Okay, yeah.
Oh gosh, there were like 4 or 5 other movies that were nominated for like every category.
Yeah,
and it makes me want to like go back and watch those.
Yeah.
Oscars was fun. It was Jimmy Kimmel hosted it.
Yeah,
and kind of fun to see all people,
dressed up,
and yeah, it was cool.
Love it.
That was our Sunday. That was pretty much it. So I have my 10,000 step thing I do.
Yeah.
And yesterday was one of the days that I really didn't want to do it. Like I've done it consistently.
This has been years.
Over 2 years. 2 years and 3 months that I've been doing this. And yesterday was one of those days where I'm like, wow, it'd be so easy to just not do it today.
Did you do it?
I did it. I forced myself. I went on like a 3-mile walk with Stevie and got it done, but I just really did not want to.
It's so fascinating. I've been talking to my friend Shannon refuses to get an Apple Watch. She's just like, and I really admire it actually, because she's like, I don't want to be tied down. Like, because you know how people are like, I worked out, but I wasn't wearing my watch, so it doesn't count. Like, she hates that mentality. It's like, that's such a silly thing. I feel like, because Chad's doing a challenge with his fire department.
Yep.
He is very he's like, I've let them down this weekend because I don't know how many steps, but it's like a team and they're supposed to get like as many steps as possible as a team.
That's a good challenge.
Yeah, it's cool. I was thinking, for me, I like to go on walks, but I am more about time than I am like distance or steps.
Yeah.
So it's like at least a 30-minute walk feels great. But the reality is it's only like a mile and some change.
Yeah.
It's 3 miles from my 30-minute walk. Yeah.
Most people walk like a 20-minute mile. That's kind of the average.
Right.
Speed.
Right.
Yeah.
So, to me, that sounds like that would be like almost an hour and a half of my day if I'm like trying to get in 3 to 4 miles.
So normally what happens is like naturally throughout the day, just from walking into work or around town or whatever I do, usually I hit about a mile pretty easily doing that.
Okay.
So then or maybe 1 to 2 miles.
Yeah.
So that means I need to intentionally walk about 2 miles throughout, walk or run. So like if I'm doing a workout class, usually I'll do a little bit of running or walking on the treadmill, and then usually I'll walk Stevie for 30 to 45 minutes. So usually like it's not one big chunk that I have to go walk
Yeah.
3 or 4 miles. So for me, 10,000 steps is 4 miles.
Okay.
I never have to go out and walk 4 miles because it's like I'll hit that. I'll hit at least a mile of that naturally.
Right.
So to have to go and walk for an hour is pretty actually unusual for me. But because I was so sedentary yesterday and didn't really do anything else, I had to go walk longer than I normally would. And it was raining and it was cold and it was Stevie got just soaking wet because it was so rainy. So yesterday would have been one of those days that I would love to just stay home.
You pushed through. Well done.
I was thinking about it. It's kind of crazy, and I don't say this to be like self-indulgent, but I haven't had a day where I haven't done anything in over 2 years.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird. Like I haven't I've had 0 days.
You get sick? You haven't been
sick. If I get sick, I've been sick.
In bed? Like
I'll walk. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty proud of that.
You should be. Shatter skin. What's your excuse? No, just kidding.
Yeah, that was most of the weekend. We finished watching The Firm. Have you seen that movie?
The Tom Cruise?
Yes.
Yeah.
You've seen it. Okay.
A long time ago.
I just read the book, which is why I watched the movie. So read the book, finished it this weekend, and then I'm like, okay, let's watch the movie now. Movie was great until the last third of the movie, and then it was completely different than the book. Which is very frustrating to me. Yeah, like the whole my favorite part of the book was probably like the last third.
Okay.
And they didn't include any of that in the movie. So
Can I tell you an embarrassing story about a book?
Please.
Okay. So I follow this girl on Instagram who recommends books, and they're usually like thrillers and fun, like suspense books.
Okay.
So she had done a thing, and I like quickly will look through and be like, okay, and I'll go to my local library and put on the app, like I'll reserve the books that I want to do.
Yeah.
So she'd said this one, and I remember just her saying like, okay, you guys all recommended it. It did not disappoint. It's called Consider Me and something. So I'm like, I looked in my library, found it. It didn't have a cover on it.
Okay.
It just said Consider Me. I was like, I think that's it. And that's the author. So I was like, all right, just reserve. I go to pick it up and I pull the cover and I'm like, it's like this like shirtless guy. It's a little like, he's a little glistening.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. I was like embarrassed that I'm getting this.
Yeah.
Right. And in my like flustery, I somehow actually physically stumble and the book falls out of my hands and literally hits a male employee who then picks it up.
Oh my gosh.
And it was the most uncomfortable exchange.
It's like a movie.
It was. And he hands it to me and I'm like trying not to even make eye contact at this point. And I'm like, I'm getting this from my friend. No, I'm like trying to make it up.
Yeah.
But I was like, I have not had an awkward funny situation like that in quite some time, and I was just like, I don't know.
So how was the book?
I mean, it's not crazy. It's not like super like some, it's not super inappropriate, but I'm only a couple of chapters
just
in.
wait.
I'm like, I'm nervous. Yeah, I don't know. I was so caught off guard because it's usually like mystery and thrillers.
Yeah.
So to get something that was like about inappropriate, I was like, so yeah, that
was a huge industry
weekend.
for that. There was somebody when I went to school with growing up. Their parents had a really nice house, on the waterfront, beautiful home, probably the wealthiest family at my school. Yeah. And we found out that the mom was an erotic fiction author.
How'd you find it out? I think, the literature?
I think my mom was like in a book club with some of the other moms.
Hilarious.
And then that mom was in it. And then like they recommended.
She
somehow they like read one of her books or something. Yeah. And it was definitely that genre.
Hilarious.
But they had a really nice house. So a lot of money in that.
I had a roommate in college and she's a little bit different. And so there's multiple roommates there. And so another friend of mine and I went and like snooped in her room a little bit. We were like, she had like Veggie Tales and like other like things out in her like display.
Yeah.
But then we found a box in her closet and it was like very inappropriate. And we were like, anyways, the things we find.
The things we find when we go snooping.
When our friends read dirty books.
Okay, so
back to our
weekend was good. Chill.
Good.
Still tired from daylight savings.
Yeah. Did we save it? Have we saved the daylight? Are we done now?
I was talking to Eric about this earlier because he's a big proponent for abolishing daylight savings.
We talked about it in the fall.
Yeah, every time.
Back.
And I wish we would stay in this current zone because it's light out until like 7 p.m. now, which is amazing.
That's what we all
and it's supposed to be like 65 degrees this Friday.
Oh, I'm excited.
This upcoming weekend looks amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if I told you, but I guest lectured a class at UW this last week, which is very fun. It was a class I took in college, was like a real estate finance class, which actually I didn't take any other real estate classes, but one of the finance classes I needed to get my degree was like this real estate finance class. Took it my last quarter at UW.
Interesting.
And for somehow the professor ended up on my like email newsletter list. I don't remember adding her, but apparently I added her to my email newsletter list. So over the last 7-8 years since college, she gets all my regular email newsletters. Yeah. And she recently responded to one, and she was like, "Love everything you're doing. Yeah. Like once a quarter I bring in a former student to do a guest lecture in one of my classes."
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And so I went to UW and I guest lectured a class and
on real estate finance, or what did you share?
No, so I started out the whole thing with like, I'm not a finance guy, so I'm just gonna preface it with that. But
let's be honest.
She brings in students once a quarter to like talk about their career in real estate since college, just so the students can kind of hear different perspectives on like what could be an option for them. Yeah. So with that, I spent most of the time talking about like my career in real estate and my journey, and I've had kind of an interesting. I've worn a lot of hats within the real estate industry, and then that got me thinking about you. You've worn also a lot of hats in the real estate industry. Yeah. So I would love if you would just kind of talk about that. Like, what are some of the different things you've done within real estate? Yeah. And then what is the current hat that you're wearing?
Yeah. Great questions. I was also thinking about this too, because you and I are going to be sharing at a team meeting coming up on like, what is it called? What are we calling it?
I don't remember.
like living your dream life.
Yes. Along those lines.
And honestly, I will like never not credit real estate for getting us to at least our dream home. Yeah. Is where I feel like we're at right now. Okay. Hats I've worn. So when I started in real estate, it was joining my friend Sarah Koch. Yep. And it was literally just going to be like a side hustle. Yeah. Like I had a newborn, I had a preschooler. And so I was just looking for just a little side gig that I would do with my friend. She told me it would be, 6 hours a week of my time. And it's like, you judge me. And it's always been such a fascinating thing because my background was in education. I always thought I'd go into teaching, either elementary school or even open up a preschool. Like that was kind of the trajectory before I moved to Washington, before I got into real estate. And so to get into an industry that is so different, that is like just outside, anything that I thought I would be in has been a really good challenge. Like I feel like I've grown so much through it. Yeah. And as I've gotten older, I've also been able to like pull in some of my education background. Right. So after I had my license for a little while, I started being more of a mentor on our team. And so then I got into like this idea of mentoring and coaching. Yep. And so when I first joined Theory, I was your guys' first productivity coach. Yep. And I feel like you guys were just at this brink of expanding your team. Like you were like, I think we're ready to grow. So you needed somebody to come in and help train.
Remember what year was that?
2018.
18. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I know. Well, we just posted the office on I Street that you guys have up, and I was like, that was my first interview was coming there. It was you and me, and then I remember you were like, oh, by the way, we're having a team lunch afterwards if you feel like staying for lunch. And I was like, 100%. I am sold. Like you had me at lunch.
Jan made lunch.
Yes.
And,
I want to say it was a stir fry. I just remember like leaving that day and being like, I need to be a part of this.
That's awesome.
And so I joined you guys as a productivity coach, and then I feel like I did that for a little bit. And then it kind of was like this natural progression of I was coaching, helping bring on new agents, that I then got my managing broker's license. Yep. And then from there became the designated broker, which I never wanted to do, which is so funny. I like remember thinking like that is such a intense job. All the designated brokers at other brokerages I had been at seemed like it was hard and it felt very like a huge responsibility. But I knew working with you guys and working at Theory, like I would always have the support I needed. So, I did that. And that was, I don't know, 3-4 years of DB stuff. I feel like for me personally, what's always been nice is I've always had my license, but I've always had other streams of income in real estate. Like we've owned rentals, we've done flips. As a managing broker, I had a different, source of income through that. So my timing was different versus only working with buyers and sellers and just selling real estate. But I've also always enjoyed that side too. So
that's one of my favorite things about real estate is just the variety of all the different things you can do. Like when I was talking at the class, I was like, it's crazy. Yeah. The number of hats I've worn, and I've gotten to see like what I enjoy, what I don't enjoy, what I'm good at. And then kind of narrow down what I'm actually focusing on after having the chance to experience all those different things. So
100%.
It's cool with you, like all the different things you've been able to do. And then, now where are you at now?
So now I have my license. So I was joking last week. Somebody was like, are you still in real estate? So I do still have my license, and I am happy to take clients. Chad and I had a couple listings over the summer, not much during the fall or winter. But now I feel like the market's kind of getting warm and helping a buyer. And I was thinking yesterday, I was like, I love like meeting with him yesterday and going through like, hey, here's different strategies for writing a strong offer. I love that process. I really love helping people understand just their options in the buying process. I love the idea of each buyer brings different strengths. And so like helping them figure out what are your strengths? What are things, and getting creative. I think that's a part of it for me, is like getting creative and problem solving with just different people, different properties. So that's where I'm at right now. And I feel like, this last season of no longer being the managing broker and the designated broker here has been like a weird transition, to be totally honest. Like I feel a little bit like, oh, where's my place on the team? And I think my place is just still having an active license and still helping clients buy or sell real estate. Jumping in with trainings with you when I can, and supporting our team however I can. But I think that's just kind of the seat I'm taking right now, is just, or the hat I'm wearing, I'll say, is just having my license and doing that.
So there are obviously a lot of real estate agents out there. What are some of the reasons that you feel like, what do you bring to the table? Like, why would somebody, why should somebody work with you?
Is this a pitch right now? It is. Yeah. He's like, I'm actually hiring. Gosh, that is a good question. And I feel like it's kind of changed different seasons. Like for a while, Chad and I worked together quite a bit, and we had a whole thing where we were like, you get 2 for 1 with us. And you still do. He still has his active license. I think for us, it's a lot of experience in those different fields, right? Like I have experience as an investor and as somebody who's flipped homes and as somebody who has been a landlord. I have experience over 10 years now of helping clients buy and sell real estate. I feel like my love for empowering people is a great thing. Like I want buyers to feel like they have options, and they I always talk about when I do educating classes, like I never want somebody to be surprised by something in the transaction that I can control, right? So obviously things come up in transactions, and that's to no fault of anybody. But as much as I can help people feel like they've gone through a smooth process, like I love that. I want them to feel supported. I feel like real estate is a very taxing financial, emotional, mental process. Like it's a lot. I mean, even just this guy getting excited about putting an offer on a house, and then, a little bit of a letdown that it didn't work out. Like there's just this ride of a roller coaster. So I love being able to help coach and support people through all of that.
Totally. I think a lot of the things that make someone a great real estate agent comes from experience and from seeing different things. And I think for you, as the managing broker, you oversaw hundreds and hundreds of transactions.
100%.
So you've seen a lot of the things that can happen, and you've helped navigate through them.
Well, that's a really fascinating thing. If you look at my numbers, like, the MLS shows, you won't see a ton of sales. But I have helped so many agents save transactions or problem solve. I've read so many contracts and gone through and seen, what was working, what wasn't working, where there were errors or, things. So, and that's kind of a funny thing. Like, I don't necessarily, I'm talking about it now, but it's not really something you advertise. It's not, most people will be like, oh, they've closed 500 transactions. I've probably seen 500, it's like, I don't know, over the lifespan of the last 4 years, but yeah, it's interesting.
Real estate's fun.
It's fun. I don't know. I remember, and this is where I go back to like that idea, like hard things aren't bad.
Yeah.
There are times in real estate where I have gotten very like overwhelmed and
Totally.
anxious, and I am like, this isn't for me. I
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing this. And then there's times where I'm like, I actually got through that and I helped save something in my client's own property. Like,
Yep.
you know what I'm saying? I just feel like there's I don't know, there's this benefit of doing the hard things in real estate.
Yeah.
And
You also never know
I
what's on
love
the
that.
other side of it either. Like, even if something goes wrong or you
Yeah.
don't get an offer accepted, like, you don't know what's on the other side. Like, there's your client who you worked with
Yeah.
this weekend. Like,
Yeah.
there's maybe you'll find something that is a way better fit for him.
Totally.
Maybe he'll get a much better deal on a house or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, there's you even when things are hard, even when things don't work out,
Yeah.
like there's typically what we from my experience, from yours experience, usually
Yeah.
there's something good on the other side.
100%. I at lunch yesterday with Brian and Diane. Brian said he quoted his dad. So I don't know what Brian's dad is, but credit to him for saying, like, you're not going to miss the last good deal.
Oh, wow.
So there's always going to be another good deal.
Yeah,
right. He
for
was
sure.
talking about car purchase or whatever. And his dad would be like, hey, you're not going to miss the last good deal.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love that. And I think that's so true. Even right now in real estate, I feel like what's probably going to happen because we're seeing multiple offers.
Yeah.
We're going to start to see more inventory. Agents are going to reach out to sellers and be like, hey, it's heating up,
Yeah.
multiple offers. You should get on the market. So I have full confidence that we'll find something. But yeah, I kind of like that idea. And I tell clients all the time, like, literally what's meant to be will be. And if it's not this one, something else is going to come along. So,
I was talking to my client on Saturday about the market right now and interest rates and everything.
Mhm.
And he was saying for him, it's like, yeah, interest rates aren't great right now. And I just did the same thing. I just bought a house and my interest rate's 7.5% or something crazy that I don't like.
Right.
Don't like it. But I know that as soon as rates, I mean, we're already seeing it. Like, rates are pretty stable around 7% right now.
Yeah.
Buyers are coming back in. They're
Yep.
getting used to these interest rates. They're embracing them. They're entering the market or re-entering the market if they stepped out for a little bit.
Yeah.
So the market's heating up, but just wait till the interest rates go down. Like, as soon as rates go down, prices are going to skyrocket.
Well,
we're going to see competition increase. It's going to be crazy. So it's like, if like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to wait for the rates to go down. If you wait for the rates to go down, there's something else coming.
100%.
So I don't think there's ever, I don't think there's ever the perfect time to buy a home, but I think it's always the right time to buy a home.
Yeah.
Because you never know what's going to happen in the market.
Right.
And it's so much better to own real estate than not to.
I feel like that is the gist of it. It's like, if it works for you, buyer, then buy a home.
Yeah.
Like, put money back into your own pocket. If for you, renting for another year and putting money into savings to give you better buying power is what works for you, then you do that. Like, and I love that about Theory. You know, that's one of our core values, is putting people first. And it truly is that mindset of what is best for the buyer.
Yeah.
We're not going to put anybody in a house and make you house broke, right? Yep. I mean, that's not my goal. So talking with people about, like, if it works for you to buy this house, if it works for you to buy this house and pay more than what it's listed for, if it works for you to buy this house and you know, do these extra things to it once you're in, like, do that, because you are investing back into your own pocket, right? Versus paying somebody else's mortgage.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay. What's happening with you in real estate? You are teaching classes. You're closing deals.
Yeah. So I feel like a small percentage of my time goes to working with clients, but I do really enjoy it. So like, whenever somebody reaches out and they're like, hey, are you taking on clients right now? I'm like, always yes. Like, I
know when they
I
ask,
love working with friends. Like, it's my favorite thing 100%. Ever. It's we have a great number of other agents. So for me personally, if it's a stranger that comes to me, usually I'll introduce them to one of our other agents, because like, they're gonna have more time. They're going to be a better service this client. Yeah. If it's a friend that I like know well, like I want to be part of that process.
For sure.
So yeah, for me, it's like when somebody reaches out, if it's somebody usually for me, it's people I went to college with, and that's a lot of the clients I've worked with, but it's also started becoming like referrals of those people and stuff like that. And like, I really do enjoy the real estate process. I enjoy looking at homes. I enjoy negotiation.
Yeah.
I enjoy handing over the keys. I enjoy, when it's a listing and they get a bunch of offers. Like, I really like, I like the process.
Yeah.
So, I always, there was a period there probably 3 years ago where I was very focused on other stuff, and I wasn't really taking on clients.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like during that time I missed out on these big milestones for my friends. Like there were a few friends that bought during that time.
Okay.
And I did introduce them to other agents at Theory.
Yeah.
But and now they are in homes and they're happy and everything.
Yeah.
But I feel like I missed out on being part of that for them. So I've decided to, especially for friends, like I want to be part of that process for them. And if I'm not there for every single showing, like we have other agents that can help out with that, and that works out great. But yeah, I love real estate. I love what it allows people to do just for their wealth building and for just there's so many benefits to investing in real estate. And being a real estate professional, I think is just such for me, variety is an important part of life, and I think that is a big part of being a real estate agent. Is just like no 2 days look the same. Like you really can create a life that has variety to it. So I love real estate.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Okay, one last couple things. I'm practicing Japanese right now.
How's it going? Because last week you were like, I'm learning 4 words.
It's still now I'm at like 8 words, but some words of the week. Do you know what teacher is?
Teacher?
Yeah.
No.
Sensei.
Oh. All right. Felt like a trick question.
How about doctor? I thought I knew it, and now I'm looking up. I think it's Isha.
Mom.
I'm double checking.
Christine King. Is that all right? Is that accurate?
And a lot of times when I look things up, it's just the symbols. It's not the actual.
Isha. Oh, you're not learning how to read it?
I'm not learning the symbols. And there was a section where they were trying to teach me the symbols. And I'm like, I don't.
You're like, seriously.
I'd rather.
I'm going in a month.
I just want to learn the words.
I love it. I love it.
So those are the words of the week. Isha for doctor.
Isha.
Sensei for teacher.
That makes sense. Yeah.
All right.
Great
chatting with you, Jamie.
Done.
Anything else you need to chat through today?
I feel good.
Me too. I feel much better.
It's therapeutic.
Always.
I love our chats.
23andMe.
23andMe. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Jamie.
We end up being cousins.
Oh my gosh. I don't like that.